Welcome in for another edition of the RSL show. I hope you guys are enjoying your 4th of July holiday. I'm Alex, he's Josh, and we're here to break down what happened the other night when the Houston Dynamo came to America First Field. But first, Josh, how you doing, man? How's it going?
It actually sucks for me right now. I had a death in the family on a Tuesday night, so I actually was not able to go to the game. I was still able to watch it, but yeah, death in the family. It's a holiday. It kind of sucks, but we're hanging in there, and my thoughts are with the affected bits of the family. So, how are you? Sorry to be a damper there.
No, you're good, man. You're good, man. Just know that hey, we're all here for you. We support you. And
Thank you.
but
Thank
I'm
you.
doing, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Yeah, you're gonna have some hot dogs and hamburgers and tater chips and baked beans,
That's
and
the plan.
cupcakes and Coors Lights,
That's the plan, man. I don't know about the Coors Light part, but everything else in between, probably.
Bud Light, Natty Light, Miller Light,
Um,
PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon Light.
the whatever the free kind is.
I mean, yeah, true.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of what happened the other night when Houston Dynamo came into America First Field. First of all, starting 11, pretty much what you would expect considering the situation. I did anticipate Brian Vera to be back, but it was a late news that we got that Brian Vera unavailable because he's getting his green card, which is awesome in the sense that, hey, you're going to open up a international roster spot, but missed in last night's game.
Yes, we did. And, I hope him getting his green card and freeing up that international spot means something's a-coming.
That's what happened last time.
Yep, it's true. So, if we've got to miss Brian Vera for a game or two so he can go open up that roster spot, it's an okay sacrifice.
It does sound like Vera is on a plane and he's on his way back to Utah, which is amazing. He should be available on Saturday against Atlanta. To what degree, I have no idea because he has not trained in 10 plus days, but he should be an option for Pablo Mastroeni if they decide to go that route.
Yeah, I could definitely see him at least coming off the bench towards the end, right? So even if you're losing, he's not a bad option to bring on just to provide the balls forward, the height, the center back in the box quality. So I'm sure we'll see him at some point, but I don't expect him to start.
Basically, like I said, what you kind of expect with the situation that's going on right now with Real Salt Lake, you got Brody, Hidalgo, Oviedo, Catranis in the back, McMath back in goal, Emeka and Nelly Ojeda, Gomez, Crooks, Luna, Arango. Besides the center back pairings, we're back to probably a full strength Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, I'd agree. Everything you would expect to see for sure.
And early in the game, RSL gets punched in the face. A defensive lapse that has Ibrahim score early, 8th minute goal. Houston's up 1-0 in this one. And again, I just think it's poor defending on Real Salt Lake's end.
I don't think that goal happens if our normal center backs are there. However, the biggest red flag for me was how behind Andrew Brody got and then how easily he was bodied off before the shot was taken. So, not a good night for Andrew Brody.
And we've had discourses about Andrew Brody, man, so much this year. Some games he's so bright and he plays really, really well. And then other games he has performances like he had last night, which are kind of rough.
Kind of. He essentially gifted 2 goals, right?
He did.
So, you can easily make the excuse that the center backs weren't there. There's still a chance with Glad and Vera back there that sneaks through, right, for a shot. I don't think it's a big enough excuse to cover the individual defense there by Andrew Brody.
Last show, I mentioned that if Ross Lake was able to find an early goal, they should be good. This is a Houston team who plays very similar to Pablo Mastroeni and Real Salt Lake. As much as I am not a fan of Ben Olsen, I do give him credit because his style of play mimics a lot of what Real Salt Lake does. Basically lining up same formation, same kind of style where you want to press in the midfield, you want to press high up the pitch. And I think that first goal is kind of a little bit of what we see from Real Salt Lake now, just kind of happening to Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, you could tell we weren't quite expecting them to press and back press a lot like we do. I think they were successful for it at moments, but I do think it really bit them in this game.
Towards the end, yes. Once
Yes.
the fatigue really started to settle in, I think um, down the stretch when Real Salt Lake had so many opportunities, and we'll get there, but definitely fatigue. You started to see it late for Houston.
So before we get into the rest of the goals and what happened in the game, do you consider Houston a rivalry now?
Yes.
I think I do as well, and I think it really comes down to an individual dislike, right? I don't think it's an individual dislike. I think the whole fan base dislikes them. So a dislike of individual players that are really heating this up. Even with Corey Baird gone, Steve Clark was doing his best to run his mouth, be a past Griffin Dorsey, the other one that I simply can't stand. It's like the two guys with the worst hair on the team are the biggest idiots. So yeah, all right, cool. On the same page. Houston is now a rivalry. Stamp it, everybody.
I do think that the rivalry is beginning. We saw a little bit of it last year, and I think it really started with Amin Bassi and Brian Vera going head to head in that Open Cup game.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's where it started, and then they come to America first, beat us 3-0, and then you face them again in the playoffs. So having that consistency of like going head to head in these big games and
Yep.
then having moments like the Vera and Bossy moment, I think it's beginning to boil into this fun rivalry in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and I think natural rivalries that kind of just come out of nothing are the best, right? So be prepared to hate Steve Clark and Griffin Dorsey for a while.
There was a moment towards the end of the game where fans were yelling at that Houston bench and the coaches were yelling back at the fans. I don't know what was said. I don't know what happened, but there was players on the bench getting up off their seats to kind of like hold back some of the assistants because I guess fans were yelling at the Houston bench being down 3-2. And so moments like that is what gets you a rivalry.
Oh, good, but also that's what used to happen all the time when the Riot was the Riot and a Fortress. So glad to see it coming back. As long as the chirps aren't overly negative, chirp away. I love it.
So, getting back to the flow of the game, Real Salt Lake obviously down 1-0. Couple of good opportunities. I believe it was again Gomez, or no, Chicho. It was Chicho this time who had one coming crashing off the crossbar just moments after conceding. Could have been 1-1 right off the bat, but you're immediately the response from Real Salt Lake is good because you have Real Salt Lake playing Real Salt Lake ball. You have them creating in the attack, you have them passing, and it looks good. And Chicho almost scores off of that.
Yeah, and at that point as a fan, you're like, okay, like we're gonna be all right tonight. We're gonna be all right. And a lot of credit to Gomez's work to set up that chance for Chicho as well. A big swing comes in for him to control. Instead of being selfish and going for goal in a tight angle, he kind of jukes two Houston players cutting back and lays a perfect ball off for Chicho. And Chicho, honestly, I get why he's going for power there, but just so unlucky not to hit that because off by millimeters, really.
He has Steve Clark dead to rights. Steve
Yes.
Clark is already on the ground. He has no idea where that ball's going, and for it to just come crashing off the post like that, man, it's so unlucky.
Yeah, and honestly, I think we had Steve Clark dead to rights a few times.
Yes.
He also played very well, but if RSL really had their finishing boots on, this could have been 6-2 easily.
Moments after Chicho Arango crashes it off the crossbar, I believe it was Bodie Hidalgo who is at the center circle who just heads one in, trying to get one into the attack. Two Houston players are covering it. Steve Clark is off his line, making the signal, say, hey, back away, I've got it. And then out of nowhere, Andres Gomez hustles to the ball, steals it off the two center backs, gets around Steve Clark, and just puts it into basically an empty back of the net. And Real Salt Lake are back in this.
It was honestly a very unexpected and beautiful goal. And it just goes to prove that teams cannot be caught sleeping against Real Salt Lake because, Chicho's hovering around there. If Julio's on the field, he's faster than Gomez, right? Gomez, Luna, everyone will sneak up on you. So, yeah, credit to Gomez for putting in that work. A beautiful goal, I believe. He just one-touched it. I don't even think he took a touch. So, yeah, big laps by Houston. Something I love to see.
I will say Real Salt Lake's two concessions came off of defensive mistakes.
Yes.
I think this is the worst one out of all of them.
Yeah, because this is what should have been a routine clearance and or scoop up by the goalkeeper, right? It's almost reminiscent and almost as bad as the Toronto Atlanta goal, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's in the same realm for me.
When you have two center backs covering that, there's no way on earth a player should be sneaking in behind like that to steal the ball away the way that Gomez did. Miscommunication all around. Steve Clark should have made it clear that they had a player running off. Someone should have
Yeah,
told them.
where's your central midfielders hollering at you?
There
You know,
was
where's
no
the outside back?
communication, and it's just a terrible, terrible mistake from Houston. But hey, we'll take it, man.
Yeah, bummer for them. Great for us.
We'll absolutely take it. 1-1 at this point. Real Salt Lake continuing to be what I believe is the better of two sides throughout a majority of that first half, continuing to just play Real Salt Lake ball, controlling the midfield, pressing. A lot of bad giveaways from Houston's defense. So many bad giveaways from Houston's defense throughout that first half. And it's just unfortunate that Real Salt Lake couldn't capitalize on one of those.
Yeah, and like you said, we were the better team the entire game. Outside of two individual mistakes, really, this is a clean sheet. They were never that dangerous, you know?
And like you mentioned earlier, I do think if a Vera or a Glad is available for this one, you very well could have a clean sheet.
Yes, don't disagree whatsoever.
Back to late in the first half, you have a Diego Luna who's just dribbling through a couple of defenders, couple step overs, cuts inside, puts it on his right, and it's almost like a vintage Sava goal.
Yeah,
where he cuts inside, hits it with an absolute rocket from outside of the 18 and puts it into that far top corner, and all of a sudden RSL 2-1 to take a lead.
That's Luna's shot. I can't tell you out of the times I've been to practice this year, which I wish it was more, but almost every time I'm there, I see him either practicing that during practice or staying after and practicing that. So yeah, that's Luna's go-to, I think, and maybe Sava taught it to him, but more of that, please, and an absolutely beautiful, beautiful individual goal.
I think that goal is one of the big reasons why I don't mind Luna staying out on the wing.
Yeah, if he can open up that space for himself, yeah, and as long as he has the freedom to do Luna ball, right, tuck inside if he needs to, then I'm fine with him being on the wing.
No matter what, he's going to have those chances to tuck inside, to pinch inside, and create the way that he created that goal. And you're seeing him get more comfortable. You're seeing him learning more real game time experiences of when to cut that ball inside and when to make that move. And it's working out really well. And that's, like I said, I think that's the biggest reason why I don't mind a Diego Luna staying out wide.
Yeah, and it just creates even more of a headache for the opposing defense, right? You don't know when he's going to cut inside. You're going to have coverage. I would put my money on we're going to see that goal one or two more times this season.
2-1 at the break. Real Salt Lake leads it. Halftime. How are we feeling, Josh?
Oh, I'm feeling great. You know, I'm definitely still worried that, you know, Houston will nab another goal or two, but with the way RSL is playing, with the pressure we're putting on and the skill we have, I was absolutely confident we were going to pull out a win.
Packed house, packed riot. You got the whole fan base behind you. I'm feeling good at this point. 2-1 at the break. But then early in the second half, we talk about defensive mistakes. We talk about defensive errors. And I think this is another one where miscommunication comes into play. I think between Brody and Zach McMath, that ball should never be going into the back of the net the way that it did.
No, absolutely not. It's, again, almost an embarrassing goal to concede. Everyone always says just put the ball in the mixer and see what happens, and this is a prime example, right? You catch guys off guard, but, you know, a nice Hector Herrera cross turns into an Andrew Brody own goal.
Unfortunate, like I said, for Andrew Brody, man. He's been so inconsistent this year because, like I said, he'll have really, really good games where we're praising him for a couple of good things that he's done, and then he'll have games like he did last night where, like I said, it should just not be going in. The best way that I can describe this goal is just an absolute error from Andrew Brody.
Yep, that's the only way to put it.
Plus, it seemed like McMath had that one covered had Brody not gotten a touch on it.
Oh, 100%. That ball was going right to him, right? He would have caught it off of one bounce. No big deal.
Unfortunate deflection for Zach McMath, but I do think in that moment, Zach McMath has to be a little bit more vocal. Obviously, we don't have the camera angle to see if there was communication, what he was saying, but I do think Zach McMath has to make it clear that's to say, hey, stay away, that's my ball.
Yeah, 100%. You got to command that box.
Which we saw it with that Galaxy goal.
Yeah, it's very very similar, right?
Yep.
So let's clean that up, and we're conceding quarter of the goals we're conceding at this point.
2-2 at this point, thanks to that Hector Herrera cross that turns is credited for an Andrew Brody own goal. And man, look, we've been giving this guy praise and love all season long. He has been so underappreciated. How about Brian Ojeda getting his first MLS goal, his first Real Salt Lake goal to put Real Salt Lake up 3-2?
It couldn't have come to a better player, right? As much as I love seeing everyone else score, when guys like Ojeda, when guys like Emeka score, there's just something special about it because they're always on the outside looking in, right? They're doing the grunt work, and they're always taking their chances, right? Ojeda's had no lapse in chances this year, but to finally see him get that goal and see what it meant to him just gives you goosebumps, man.
I don't think anyone deserved it more on that pitch that last night than Brian Ojeda being able to score the winner. Do want to give major credit to Chicho Arango for his moments of solo brilliance of just running up the sideline, taking the ball from about mid halfway and bringing it all the way up, settling it for Gomez, and then Gomez finding Ojeda in the box. So again, Chicho creating for Real Salt
Yeah.
Lake.
Honestly, Chicho's work rate, offensively and defensively, is incredible. You have to give him all the credit. He's such an important player, not only for his goals but his contributions.
Also, got to give a huge shout out to Andres Gomez, who yet again has a goal and an assist in a match.
What a player, man! What a player! And then honestly, Ojeda, the way he had the composure to not rush that shot, to know he had time, set it up on his right foot nicely, and just tuck it away. It's just a beautiful, composed finish.
He literally passed it into the bottom corner.
Yeah.
Again, another moment where Steve Clark is just dead to rights. He's already thrown himself the opposite direction, and Ojeda, all he has to do is just kind of use that defender as a shield almost, and just kind of cut it back and put it on his right, and basically pass it into that open bottom corner. Beautiful goal from Brian Ojeda, and again, just happy for him to be able to get his first.
Yeah, I hope there's many more. I really do. So, hell yeah, Brian Ojeda. I'm still mad at you for outbidding me on that jersey.
We talk about Rouse like having opportunities, not having the shooting boots. We talked about it last time with the Galaxy. Now we have to talk about it again because there was an opportunity where Anelli had an open net. There was an opportunity where Matt Crooks should have had a goal. And there was so many. There was that Chicha one where he was one-on-one with Steve Clark. But there were so many chances for Real Salt Lake to make it 4-2 and to really break away because Houston had some chances late in that match to kind of tie things up, especially past the 90th minute.
Yeah, we should have buttoned up that cushion. Anelli's, yes, it's a wide open goal. I give him a little bit of grace because it's not your job, right? I can see how that could catch someone off guard and, whatever. Crooks's really bothered me because it looked lazy. I think he could have put some more effort into that. I hate to say that, but it was so lackadaisical, right?
Yeah.
And then Chicho's was the only one Steve Clark actually got big and made the save. So, I mean, that should have been 6, man, right there. Not even counting Chicho's crossbar.
I'll give Steve Clark credit because it was a nice save on that Arango one, but the Crooks one, I think that one's a little bit more inexcusable.
Yeah, like, did you want to shoot it?
Yeah.
At any point, I don't know. It was just so slow motion.
Which goes back to our conversation we had last week about bringing in a 10.
Yeah, a killer. Let's get one. Crooks can come off the bench. Whatever.
And we'll get to that here in a minute too, because I think this game has left me with a lot of questions. But we'll just overall, Josh, what are your main takeaways from that game?
An important 3 points, right? That's obvious. My biggest takeaway is that was a gutsy win from RSL. Again, it's another example of a win that RSL of the past seasons would not have accomplished. I love how they went down, faced some adversity, but you never would have, you could have never convinced me coming into that game that Houston was up 1-0, right? It was just a great performance, a gutsy performance, and one I'm very happy to see.
Yeah, biggest takeaway for me, 3 points. But it does leave me with a little bit of some questions, like the center backs.
Yes.
I have questions in the Matt Crooks in the 10 position. And I think I I didn't think I would have this question at the beginning of the season, but I think we need to talk about it. Chicho Arango has now gone 4 matches without a goal. He has not scored since June 1st, which was that hat trick against Austin. Chicho in a slump?
I mean, maybe a small one, right? But I think he's still so important and still providing so much that I don't know that I would call it a slump. I really don't. I'm not that concerned, man. I mean, one of those games he had his head sliced open, right? Like, I really am not that concerned. I think Atlanta's a prime opportunity for him to nab a couple goals. And as we've seen, it just takes a moment for Chicho to do something, and that's all he's going to need is just a moment. He's got his assists. He's creating still. I'm really not worried. I just think he just needs to nab a goal, right? And if he's in a slump for 5 games in the summer, then so be it. If he scores another 16, you know,
Fair.
if we go 2-3 more games, then sure we can get concerned. But I don't think we need to worry about that. Why am I being positive, Alex?
Hey, they've earned it, man.
They have.
They've earned it.
I'll be salty when the time is right.
Taking a look around the rest of MLS, Columbus with a 2-0 win over Nashville. Inter Miami, they were down for a majority of the game, but a late comeback for them in Ben Kermashi scoring a goal, 2-1 over Charlotte. FC Cincinnati and DC United battling out a 3-2. Cincinnati takes it. New York City FC 2-0 over Montreal. Orlando 2-1 over Toronto. New England getting a win over Atlanta United 2-1 in RSL's next opponent. Philadelphia. Man, Philadelphia.
What is up with them, man? Did we really break them? Did we really break them?
Oh, we did.
Boy, oh boy. It's almost sad. You know, like that is a good squad. What is going on?
They were up 3-1 against Chicago. And with 8 minutes left in the game, Chicago scores 3 to come back and win 4-3 against the Philadelphia Union.
Let me just make sure I heard that correctly. You said Chicago.
Chicago.
Bro. Is Jim Curtin's seat getting hot?
I think so, man. You either have to recycle that squad and you need to recycle it quick, or Jim Curtin's feeling some pressure, man. They are now in 13th place of the Eastern Conference.
That's so wild. And like, it's crazy because I consider that a massive win for RSL and it's looking less and less massive unless we take credit for breaking them. Then it's all good.
Vancouver with a 3-1 win over Minnesota. St. Louis, after firing Bradley Carnell, is able to beat San Jose 2-0. RSL getting a 3-2 win over Houston. Yet to play FC Dallas, Portland, at the time of recording, yet to play FC Dallas, Portland, Colorado Sporting KC, and El Tráfico, 1 versus 2. LA Galaxy taking on LAFC.
I need 2 ties in there, and then I kind of want SKC to beat Colorado for me.
That would be nice.
I would say a draw there, but I really don't care. But let's hurt Colorado more. So yeah, let's get a win, SKC. Keep Peter Vermes there a little longer.
Looking at the table, like we just mentioned, a 3-way tie at the top between LAFC, Salt Lake, and the LA Galaxy. Vancouver, we were just talking about Vancouver and their slump. They got one win, and it put them in 4th place, man.
We also talked about how close the West is, right? So 1 loss, they're back to 7th, right? Good for them. Happy to see them up there. I like Vancouver. But they're still kind of crappy.
Colorado with now down to 5th, Portland in 6th, Houston in 7th, Minnesota in 8th, Seattle in 9th, and of course most of the Western Conference matchups yet to be played tonight, so we'll see how that kind of shakes up. But let's take a look at what's coming Saturday. It's Atlanta United, a managerless Atlanta United, a Yakumakis-less Atlanta United, and possibly no Thiago Almada.
I mean, if there's an offer out for him, he's probably not playing. So this kind of, in a way, could be a trap game, right? This is an opponent you could take too lightly for sure. But I don't see this RSL side doing that. So this should be a fun one.
I don't see it as a trap game because I just don't think Atlanta. I think you're taking away the biggest creative pieces for Atlanta in Yakumakis, taking away Almada, and then possibly Wiley, who might be moving overseas as well. They don't really have the talent to compete with what they have right now at the moment.
Yeah, it's true. How does Bocanegra still have a job as the GM over there?
Wild.
I don't like saying that because he was one of my favorite U.S. players of all time. I love that guy, but he has completely destroyed this Atlanta side that was a juggernaut its first couple of years.
Absolutely. Under Tata Martino and Josef Martinez and Miguel Almiron. And they kind of fell off, man.
Kind of. They've crashed and burned, man. That airplane crashed in the Alps that eat each other. It's bad over there.
Last season, I do give them credit because last season they went all in. They put all their chips on the table and said, look, we're going to spend a whole bunch of money on Yakumakis. We're going to spend as much as we can to bring in Almada. They did good finding guys like Wiley in the academy and farming some players and bringing them up. And it looked like they were heading in the right direction again. And then all of a sudden, team didn't live up to expectations, and now you have Yakumakis, who was unhappy with the situation, so he said, bye, I'm going to Liga MX. You got Almada, who's probably now going to the Brazil League, possibly. You got Wiley, who's going overseas, and those are your best three players.
Yeah, it's something's going on behind closed doors. It's got to be.
Atlanta's in a rough spot, man.
It's so nice to not be the team in a rough spot with things going on behind the scenes, isn't it?
Weird.
It feels very weird.
Look, they have gotten a couple of better performances and a couple of better results since since Pineda got fired. And look, when you have Garth Lagerwey running the project and running things over there, I do think Atlanta will eventually get back to that. But while Atlanta's down, while they're not playing well, why they don't have a manager, I think Real Salt Lake has to take advantage of that and make sure to get 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, 3 points are a must here. There's no sugarcoating it. It's 3 points or pissed off.
Best case scenario, the LA Galaxy and LAFC draw, and Real Salt Lake can take the top of the table back on Saturday, depending on results.
Would be incredible. Really would be.
Any predictions? Anything you want to drop in there for Atlanta?
Nope. I refuse to do predictions anymore. That's why I said it should be fun.
It will be fun.
Should.
It will be fun.
Should.
There is going to be a sold-out crowd at America First Field. If you're still looking for tickets, get them now because it's going to be a packed house on Saturday at home. Josh, any last things you want to add? Any last things you want to talk about before we wrap this quick episode of the RSL Show up?
No, sir. I'm just excited to get to the riot on Saturday and take it all in and enjoy this holiday weekend as best we can. So let's go RSL Lakes.
So with that, Saturday, July 6th, 7:30 p.m., Real Salt Lake taking on Atlanta United at America First Field. Be there, go out, go support. So, hey, make sure to go follow. Make sure to go subscribe. Go do what you got to do to follow us on social media for the best RSL content here from the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network.